Good old racism. Something that's been with us humans for a very, very long time, and is a frequent cause of infighting within our species, even to this day. I think we can all agree that we as a species would be better off without this infighting and focus our destructive potential elsewhere in other efforts. With this in mind, several campaigns throughout our history have worked towards this goal of ending racism, some with more success than others. Though in the last few decades a new platform for such actions has opened: video games. So in this video, I'd like to run through some examples of this seldom discussed topic in gaming, to finally open a discussion about this long overdue issue. First off, I'll start with perhaps one of the most popular game franchises in existence, Grand Theft Auto. Specifically the games of the PS2 era, whereof the protagonist of GTA 3 and Vice City are white, and the protagonist for San Andreas is black. This might just seem to either fall to coincidence in GTA 3, or what would suit the story best for Vice City and San Andreas, but if you look closer, it is impossible to deny Rockstar's intent here. Looking at the overall stories for these games is one area where spotting said intent is very clear. In GTA 3, Claude, the protagonist, is nothing but an errand boy for Liberty City's many great organized crime groups. He never talks back or raises any kind of word, and just does whatever he's told, sometimes even betraying his former partners. Tommy Vercetti from Vice City, on the other hand, actually has a character, but one that one could argue is far worse. Throughout the game, he climbs up the ladder of the crime world in Vice City, until establishing his own criminal empire and making sure it goes uncontested. But in the process of getting there, he also betrays his former partners too, and well, it's frankly very corrupt, something you could expect of a criminal, I suppose. San Andreas, as opposed to these games, is set on the west coast instead of the east coast, and follows the story of CJ and his journey through the criminal world. Though not necessarily because he was forced into it like Claude, or because he wants to get something out of it like Tommy. No, CJ's goal throughout the game is to reconnect with his family, protect his friends, and save his brother from prison. That is a lot more honorable than the previous protagonists already. In fact, the only enemies that CJ gets on his tail are corrupt officials and members of his own gang that betray him, not the other way around. I believe that this helps against racism through showcasing the fact that black people can be as kind-hearted, if not even more so, than a lot of crack-asses, and might help racist pieces of man to subconsciously realize this. In these games' mechanics too, you also see a clear intent to fight racism. Think about it. In GTA 3 and Vice City, what you can actually do in-game, as well as explorable land area, is quite limited compared to GTA San Andreas, showing that your race shouldn't be hindering you in what you want to achieve in life. Tommy in Vice City also gets a taste of this too, with being able to pilot helicopters and plane boat thingies, whereas Claude cannot do this. At least not effectively, showing that your Italianness shouldn't be a hindering factor either. CJ also gets to disprove a long existing stereotype for black people, by being the first GTA protagonist that was able to swim. Take that, you Ray! Now say you want to instill these anti-racist beliefs in your own children at an early age subconsciously through video games. Then there is a perfect example of that too. Little Big Planet. It has you traveling around the world for its main campaign, encountering many different objects, stickers, and characters that are unique to certain cultures and ideas within them. Now, what I want to focus on here isn't necessarily the exposure part, but rather that no matter where on Earth you are, life will be harsh to you and break you down. That's at least the experience I had. Never got further than China. Now the last game I'll be looking at for this video is rather unorthodox, some would say. For it is one of the games out there that is the most focused on the age of colonialism, and getting as much of those colonies as possible to expand your economy. Heck, you can even play as the Confederate States of America. That's right, I'm talking about Victoria 2, a game where your nation is either civilized, uncivilized, or primitive, has a lesson about racism packed within it. For since Victoria 2 is just as much an economical simulator as it is a map game, there are many laws, regulations, and decisions you can make about your economy, one of which regards whether slavery should be legal or not. Now to explain this, I need to explain some of the game mechanics here, so stick with me. There is a population mechanic in this game too, which all flows together with said economy, being the workforce and belonging to one of the three major classes, with subclasses within these, all of which you control the tax levels of. But to have a tax level, they need to have an income, and if you can't tax them, then they are of no use for the state's treasury. All of this means that slaves are living burdens on any country's economic system, and would be better off either dead or freed. This makes slaves by far the worst kind of population, and outlawing them, if they even are legal in your country to begin with, should be high up on anyone's list of priorities in the game. This makes fighting for the Confederate States in-game just a worse alternative to the Union overall as well. In-game, immigration is also encouraged, as a bigger population basically just gives you more resources to work with, whether that be money in the form of tax, workers for your factories, or soldiers. Over time, these new populations will assimilate into your main culture anyways, so playing as the United States of America, Brazil, or Australia, you'd want to attract as many immigrants as possible for these bonuses, and staying out of wars to attract more people. By these means, it is clear that the game takes a stand against both war and racism. So overall, video games are doing a splendid job with the new tools that previous fighters of racism could only dream of having access to, and will over time yield more and more results by the ways that they can subconsciously program players through their mechanics. Or maybe not. Oh well.
Hey now, you're an all-star, get your game on, go play. Hey now, you're a rock star, get your show on and get paid. And all that glitters is gold, only shooting stars break the mold.